QUT has always cared deeply about the quality of learning and teaching, and that's never been more important than in a time when the world is changing so dramatically. We have invested heavily in the quality of our teaching and in the quality of our educational programs. And when we came across the Professional Standards Framework and the Higher Education Academies Fellowship Scheme, to us it was absolutely clear and strategic that we should invest in that scheme. We chose the Professional Standards Framework because it's just that. It's a standards framework that is increasingly global in its reach and its application. We saw the value of being part of an international fellowship scheme rather than a national one. And we really liked the way that the scheme allowed people to find recognition, whether they were very early in their career or whether they were in a leadership role at the university. We really liked the Professional Standards Framework because it was a scheme that was international in its reach and increasingly international in its reach, and because it really created a place for people to find recognition whether they were very early in their career or whether they were more experienced leader, whether their role was in teaching or in support for learning. And that's a critically important aspect as we move into new ways of thinking about designing and delivering education. We have been struck by the really enthusiastic way that staff across QUT have engaged with the fellowship scheme, not just in terms of individuals applying for fellowship, but perhaps even more importantly, individuals' willingness to become mentors and coaches and assessors and reviewers, to become part of a really active community across the university, across disciplines, across faculties, across layers and levels of experience that has become a really energising and positive thing for this university and for our students.
I'm a current student and I'm also aware of the HEA programs. I can see whether my unit coordinator or lecturer have been through the process. It gives me more confidence in their abilities when they've been through the program because I can see that they're continuing to develop and learn. I don't always get a choice whether they've been through the program, but I'm always happy when they have been through.
The Academy was formed 3 years ago and is the key structure through which QUT promotes and endorses our fellowship scheme. We now have more than 500 fellows at QUT across all categories of fellowship, from principal fellow through to associate fellow. And our engagement with the Professional Standards Framework has been central to our promoting an institution where learning and teaching is deeply valued and seen as central to student success. The Professional Standards Framework has become an important document that's been fully aligned at QUT with our promotion policy, our evaluation strategy, and our professional development more broadly. We've worked with students, academics, professional staff, sessional academic staff, and other stakeholders, including our leadership structures at the institution, to ensure that people can understand the common language of the Professional Standards Framework and understand how important it is in promoting not just teaching excellence, but teaching effectiveness across all our areas of work. We've used the Professional Standards Framework as a form of common language to think about the areas of activity, the core knowledges and the professional values that underpin our strategies around learning and teaching. This has really been quite exciting and has certainly created some new collaborative relationships with partners in China, many of which are leading not only to new opportunities to work together on learning and teaching projects, but are also learning to research collaborations. Working with Advance HE and the fellowship scheme, we've been able to create key opportunities for staff to develop their practice, to reflect on what's important in terms of having an impact on student learning, and to prioritise new developments and innovations across the institution which focus on promoting student learning and opportunities for staff to develop their capabilities and skills in line with the Professional Standards Framework.
I'm a professional staff member here at QUT and I'm also an Associate Fellow of the HEA. I decided to apply for this a couple of years ago because my work has always been in and around helping academic staff members with what they do. I've worked a lot in curriculum development and data provision across the university. So I saw the fellowship as an opportunity to continue my engagement and involvement with helping others. It also helps me understand when academics are talking about the professional standards framework with the knowledges and the skills, because I've also worked through it myself. I have that understanding of the language and the meaning of what's behind it. I found the process of actually doing my application very valuable because in my day-to-day work I don't tend to be particularly reflective of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. Normally it's run from one thing to the next. So by having an opportunity to stop and think about why I do what I do and how it impacts on others and can help them do what they need to do, it was a very valuable and worthwhile experience.
My name is Iwona Czapliński and I am currently in a professional position, a Learning and Teaching Strategy Development Coordinator. I'm also a former academic and at the same time I'm completing my PhD. So actually I am across the research, the academic and the professional positions. I think the application for fellowship with Higher Education Academy had a quite impressive impact on me because it allowed me to sit down and to summarize my experience and think about my contribution for the future from these 3 points of view. What does it mean? It means that I've already had a quite big experience as an academic, so I could reflect on my past, what I have done. From the research point of view, I could make together, align the research with my academic work and to see that my academic work was research underpinned, actually. But also as a professional staff now, I can see clearly that research and academic work are contributing towards the development of the institutional development of the institution, the vision of the university. So it started being together because of the system, you know, all the puzzles, they started coming together into one image. Okay, I've done my work as an academic, I've done my research, and in this way I contributed to the future of the institution. So that was actually the structure of the PSF and the questions, requirements of the descriptors, which forced me somehow to think and to address this and to structure my application in this way. And they guided me actually. So the requirements of presenting the introduction, then saying exactly what I've done, that was my academic role. Justification why I have done this, that was my research underpinned. And finally, what have I learned for the future? It's now, as a strategy coordinator, I can see how this experience can be used in the future.
One of the useful things about being a senior fellow and going through the process of getting a senior fellowship is the ability to reflect on my practice and the guidance that the professional standards framework gives you to do that. So I felt it was very useful that my work was broken down into factions and areas, and I was able to look in a more focused way about how my work measures up to the professional standards framework and what it's trying to do to help me think about my practice in a more structured way. The PSF, I think, has a useful philosophy in that it is encompassing, it's inclusive. The language is very easy to understand, and it looks obvious until you start to think about how your practice is able to meet those what are actually quite very high standards. One of the most useful things about using the PSF, the Professional Standards Framework, as a way of looking at your practice is that it provides a commonality of language. Firstly across the institution between professional staff and academic staff, but also between cultures. So talking to colleagues who are working in China, the US of A, the UK. There's a commonality of language in terms of the values we apply to our teaching practice and how we hope to improve and develop our work in that way.
So as a student, the whole point of going to university is to develop ourselves and grow. And when the university plays an active role and really supports academics and lecturers and teachers in developing themselves, we respond really well to that. Because when we look up to those lecturers, it means that we know that they're really actively pursuing being the best version of themselves that they can be, and that improves our experience.